Hi everyone, welcome back to Spratt STEM Academy. Today we're going to talk about Pythagorean Theorem and how to use it. Our motivating question is, how big is this TV? If you're familiar with TV measurements, you know that TVs are measured by the diagonal measurement. So we're actually going to use Pythagorean Theorem to help us figure out the measurement of the diagonal of this TV. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to do this. But first, let's talk about the Pythagorean Theorem formula. The Pythagorean Theorem formula is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And it's pretty much as simple as that. A is going to be some side of a triangle, and the Pythagorean Theorem must be used only for right triangles, which I've labeled here. So keep that in mind, Pythagorean Theorem only for right triangles. And if you're not familiar with the right triangle, it's a triangle that has one 90-degree angle. So back to the formula, the A is going to refer to some side. And here on the triangle, I've just outlined it in green. It can be this side or this side, but for the purpose of the drawing and the formula, I just use this side right here in green. B is also referring to just some side of the triangle. So I use this side right here outlined in blue. But C is the one that we need to worry about the most because it refers to the measurement of the hypotenuse, which is going to be the longest side of the triangle. So anytime you label what your variable measurements are, like A, B, and C, make sure that your C is the hypotenuse and not one of the other sides. We're now going to use Pythagorean Theorem to figure out the length of a missing side of a right triangle. Let's write down the Pythagorean Theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now before we plug in our numbers and solve, let's make sure we can use the Pythagorean Theorem. Two questions you want to ask. Do you have a right triangle? We do in fact have a right triangle. And do you have 2 out of the 3 sides? We have that the hypotenuse is 20 and that one side of the triangle is 10 centimeters. And this is what our missing value is, x. So yes, we have 2 out of the 3 sides we need. So we can plug stuff into the Pythagorean Theorem formula. A squared, I'm going to leave it as just a squared. That's going to be our x. B squared, I'm going to put that as 10 because remember, B and A are just some sides of the triangle that aren't the hypotenuse. So I'm going to put 10, and that's going to be squared. C is going to be the hypotenuse, which is 20. So you're going to put 20, and that's also going to be squared. Now we can sort of simplify everything. A squared has to stay the same, but 10 squared, that's just going to be 100. 20 squared, that's going to be 400. So now we have to solve for a, or in this case, x. So let's first get a squared on one side. 400 minus 100, I'm going to subtract 100 and subtract 100 here. So this 100 cancels out and we're left with 300 on the right side of the equal sign. But now we have a squared equals 300. This is not complete. In order to get rid of the square on the a, we just square root both sides. So the square root gets rid of the power of 2, so we're left with a equals the square root of 300. And so x is equal to square root 300 centimeters. And you can leave it like that, but if you want to figure out what that is in like in decimal form, the square root of 300 is about 17.32 centimeters, if you want to be exact. So we have now solved for the missing side of the triangle, and its missing side is 17.32 centimeters, just approximately. So now let's go back to our motivating question about the television. See if you can use the Pythagorean Theorem to figure out how to solve for the diagonal of the TV. Pause the video and try it on your own. Okay, let's now do it together. We'll write down our formula. Remember to ask our 2 questions. Is this a right triangle? I know we see a rectangle here, But since we're wanting to find this measurement, the diagonal, and we're going to be using these two sides, we do in fact have a right triangle right here. So we've answered yes to our first question. Our second question is, do we have 2 out of the 3 sides? The answer is yes. We know that this side is 60, this side is 45 inches. We're only looking for this side. We don't know what the diagonal is. So that's what we're looking for, this side right here. Now let's plug in our numbers. A, I'm going to put as 45 squared. B, I'm going to put in as 60. C, though, remember, is our hypotenuse, which is our diagonal, and is what we are looking for, so that's going to stay C squared. 45 squared is 2,025. 60 squared is 3,600. And then we're just left with C squared still on the right. 2,025 plus 3,600 is 5,625, and that's going to be squared. So then we will take the square root to get rid of the C squared. So that way we're just left with C. And that's going to be the square root of 5,625, which is 75. And it gave us an exact number, which is very nice. Therefore, we know that the diagonal of the TV is 75 inches. So now that we've figured this out, we know how big our TV is. And that is how you use Pythagorean Theorem to solve for different sides of a triangle. We've used the formula and we know how to apply it to a real life situation. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more.